Hey everybody, Nemo060 here. This is going to be a rant video. This is going to be a little bit of an open discussion as well. This photograph that you see in the picture, minus the horns if I decide to add it, I first saw on a TV program called Ghost of the Underground on History Channel, originally on ITV apparently. And this photo, even though I am a skeptic, has really baffled me, and I just cannot think of a reasonable explanation if all the premises are true. I will first lay out the premise and then I will explain what I think could be the possible answer to these and how each of the premises could, possibly be false. Okay, this is the main premise. This is a very strange and mysterious photograph taken by Karen Collett on the Bakerloo line, London, in the early 1980s. As she took the picture of her family on the train, the eerie image appears in the glass of a man strapped to an electric chair with blue sparks shooting from his hands. As the photo is taken with a point-and-shoot 110 camera in the 1980s, the possibility of this image being faked is apparently very unlikely. The wax figure of Bruno Hauptmann, who was accused of kidnapping and murder of the Lindbergh baby, is in Madame Tussauds Wax Museum and shows him in the electric chair. The image is identical to the one in Karen's photo, except for the new blue sparks in the museum exhibit. Despite many skeptics' claims it must have been a poster in the underground tunnel that caused this effect, Madame Tussauds cannot find any record of such posters ever being manufactured. The London Underground ghost photo was featured on that recent ITV channel Ghost on the Underground. Right, now, if all these premises are true, and that it was taken with this was taken in the 1980s and wasn't known in the 1980s amongst the world of skeptics and believers alike. If it was known then and it was taken with a point and shoot camera, therefore giving it a great difficulty to be faked, then I cannot think of a possible explanation for this. However, let's examine the premises. A lot of this information is taken kind of at face value. You have to assume that everything they tell you is true. On the documentary, they do show an expert at the Bradford Museum of Cinema and Photography examining the film, apparently, and concluding that it had not been tampered with. However, first of all, we didn't get a clear enough shot, if I recall correctly, of the film, and therefore it didn't properly show whether it was these photos. We don't know whether it had been professionally edited, and also, if this was taken, the part that was taken in the 1980s could be true. However, it could have been edited using modern, technology. Photoshop has done wonders for ghost faking these days. And so, with Photoshop, it would not be unreasonable to assume that you could position and create such an effect like this in the photo. The photo itself has clearly got the quality and the train carriage of something from the 1980s, and it would be very unlikely that there would be a poster in the middle of a tunnel that they just happened to see and just happened to manage to catch on the camera right in this frame. There have been many photo effects throughout history. Back early in the 1920s and even before that in the early 1900s, one of the first special effects was using the camera. They would take a photo or film, and instead of cranking it back and rewinding it, they would continue filming from the exact position, and so the overlay of the photo would look ethereal, and it could be used to show a person splitting into two and having one person be playing an entire band. And so it would not be reasonable to assume that it would actually be possible to edit this? What are the? I am no camera expert. However, Are these point and shoot 110 cameras really just like the disposable cameras you may find today? How easy would it have been to just scan in the photo and, get a copy of the photo exactly like this? Do we have an exact photograph? They never actually showed the photograph itself. So how do we know it wasn't scanned in, edited and then printed out on a piece of paper and the expert was in on it and just doing this for entertainment, and therefore it was never on the film to begin with? The situation overall seems very wild and seems very convenient that it appears right in the frame of the window there, and that it also has the blue sparks on that look like your typical lightning bolts that you may see in cartoons. And so the only explanation I can possibly give is that this was faked and this was edited very recently, and that it was not actually published or shown in the 1980s. But I would like to know what you think. If anyone wishes to make a video response, and if anyone knows more about cameras or the situation than me, or if anyone knows of an earlier source for this photograph, then I would like to know. Any information you can provide me on this photo would be ideal, because then I can make a more definite conclusion, as all I have to go on is the documentary where it shows the waxwork figure and the photo and the people talking about it. This goes to show that there is never ever such thing as a perfect ghost photo. There always seems to be at least one premise that may be flawed or shaky, at least, to suggest that there could be an option of fakery. And according to Occam's razor philosophy, the most simple explanation is likely to be the most true, and therefore it would be most true, or most likely true I should say, that this photo was faked. I apologise if I've repeated myself at any point in this video. This is numerouse, and I shall see you all on the dark side of the moon. Off and away.